Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everyone. First item on the agenda is to recognize the 50th anniversary of the Turner Cable Equipment Company.
So as council knows, we have a very strong business community in Horsham Township. We pride ourselves with the economic development of our township. But it's always a special time when you have homegrown, born and raised residents and families that have started businesses in Horsham Township, and they reach these milestones. We have two this evening, and that's very special. So the Toner family, they're a pretty amazing story, a history, and tonight we have BJ, who is the president, Sean, who's the marketing manager, and Bobby, who's the vice president. And many of you might know Turner Cable. They're right down the street, right at like Carradine Drive and Horsham Road. But starting off in 1971 in their grandfather's basement, and then moving to where they are now around 1974-75 on Horsham Road, and before that they were on Carradine Drive. But to last and to make it and keep evolving, changing, technology, this cable business, it's constantly changing overnight sometimes. And some of the larger corporations we know in town could not keep up and did not do a good job evolving with change, thus putting themselves at risk of going out of business or downsizing. Well, here's a family-owned business in Horsham that has been here for 50 years. A great milestone, a great accomplishment, great record for their family and their past family members that were involved in the business. It's an ever-evolving, across the street, we have CommScope now, but it used to be, way back when, it used to be Gerald Instruments, and then General Instruments, and then Motorola, and then Google, and then Aris, and then CommScope. Here, that happened like in 5 years. And here's a family that has held on tight and has evolved with the market. And not only have they just stayed in Horsham, they've grown internationally. So they have actually an office in England. So they have an office in England and have branched out to the European market, and all just homegrown, a local family. It's a pretty amazing story. I don't know if BJ would like to say a few remarks, introduce yourselves.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First, I really appreciate the acknowledgement that the township's making of this. We've had a great 50 years, 48 of it being here in Horsham. As you mentioned, the CommScope down the road started as Jarl Electronics. That's where my father worked back in the middle 60s, and he decided to branch off on his own. So we're now third generation. As you said, changing technology is challenging. Trying to stay ahead of it is a job. We spent a lot of time and emphasis training our people, and it's our people that has made us so successful. So thanks very much.
You want to introduce your...
Certainly, yeah. This is my youngest son, Sean Toner. As said, he's our marketing manager, and his older brother, Rob, who's our general manager and vice president. So they've been with us 6 and 3 years.
Yeah.
In the warehouse as kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got to start somewhere.
I think it's awesome that, it's rare to see generation after generation after generation, keeping the companies together. And then, the children coming up, and they generally want to run off and do something different. And it's great to see that you're staying here and joining staying with the company and keeping it moving. I think it's excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just one other comment too, real quick. With them, just the pride that they take in their property, in their building. As we drive by it very frequently, they keep up on their parking lot. They're always landscaping. They decorate the tree at Christmas time with lights. They replace the concrete curb, so they take great pride and they keep their property looking very nice and kept up. And then you can see it. You can see a lot of contractors out there spending the time, and so that's just speaks of the company too.
Awesome, you're setting a good example for the rest of the businesses in the area. Very nice. So we do have a proclamation for you, and it reads, Toner Cable has been providing cable system equipment for the last 50 years. And founded in 1971, Toner Cable got their start in the basement of founder Robert Toner and operated with the help of his 3 children and wife, Sean. In 1973, Robert Toner migrated the operation out of his home and into a large facility located in Horsham Township. Under the leadership of Robert Toner, Toner Cable was able to become a leading cable equipment provider in both the United States and European market, while simultaneously remaining an affordable option for customers. Mr. B.J. Toner, along with his sons Rob and Sean, proudly continue the legacy of company founder and patriarch Robert Toner. The Toner family are valued members of the Horsham Township community, and we are honored to recognize them on this occasion of their 50th anniversary and wish you very many more. Thank you again. Congratulations.
You want to come up and we'll do the second one? Just doing this.
All right, so we'll hang on a sec. You guys don't mind waiting a little bit?
No, that's good.
We'll do another one, and then we'll have everybody up here for a big party. All right, so then we're moving on then to the next one, which is the 30th anniversary of the MRA Group.
They have 20 years to go to catch up with the Toner family, but so many of us know the MRA Group. Their headquarters is located in Horsham Township on 3 Village Road, which is sort of part of the Horsham Business Center. And Larry is also the CEO, and Mike is the Executive Vice President. But a beautiful building. They've done remarkable work over there. I was invited to when you had your grand opening, and I went over there with Mike McGee, the former manager, and it is truly a beautiful building. They didn't hold back on making it beautiful inside. And so that's their headquarters in Horsham, and they concentrate more on the medical, and Larry will speak in a minute of what they do. But, Larry's been in front of you before for different projects, so we know Larry a long time. He's been a resident of Horsham Township a very long time, and here's another company celebrating another milestone, 30th anniversary. So, we're proud that these families and these residents have not only grown up in Horsham, but decided to stay and have their company in Horsham. So we hope we have many more years with the MRA Group. I always try to give Larry little hints to do something really spectacular in Horsham, in one of our office parks. As you know, they're the ones who bought the Dow Chemical site in Springhouse, and they're turning it into the Springhouse Collaboration Center. So that's the MRA Group, and I get kind of jealous about that. That's in Lower Gwinnett, but they're keeping their headquarters in Horsham. So I have more time to work on Larry and Mike to make something in Horsham. So, but we really do appreciate you guys locating in Horsham, and Larry, you choosing to have your company in Horsham. So thank you, and congratulations.
Like to say a few words?
Interesting with BJ. My sister worked for them when I grew up in Horsham in 1975, 76. So it was in high school. So yeah, they've been here a long time. It's a lot of good memories, and knowing what you've been through, it's really amazing. First of all, I apologize for my attire that I only heard today, that they kept it a secret from me. So I would have at least put a tie on, see what it's like. It's been a year and a half. It's been pretty amazing. As you may remember, I grew up in Horsham, went to Hatboro Horsham High School. Have a lot of incredible memories. I was telling the police officer coming in how they used to chase us down. And it's, I love the community. It's been very good to me in many ways, in my family. Mike is my partner. That's besides executive vice president. And my son is with the company, and he'll be there. And it's been pretty amazing. If you have a chance to stop by what used to be the former Homestead restaurant, when we converted 11 years ago, we bought the building, and everyone said it had to be torn down. They may have been right, but it's been a labor of love, and all the projects that we've done through the years, which are primarily medical and lab and data centers and whatnot, the labor of love was certainly that building. You know, our goal was to preserve it for the next generation and generations after that. It was built in 1737 originally, so it really is incredible. So I do invite everybody to stop by and see what it is. Some great stuff. So, and thank you for the job you all are doing. It's a big sacrifice that is often not appreciated enough. And so we do appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
we will be doing stuff in Horsham.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Again, just repeat what Bill said. I think it's a testament to the, just coming into Horsham, growing up here and then deciding to stay here and run your business here, same as these folks over here. It's, it's a great town, and we all love it, and we just love the fact that you guys have stayed this long. And that's, yeah, no, and certainly, I think you can make 50.
And what's really, what's cool, your companies carry Horsham, PA. So wherever your companies go, whatever business you do, nationally or internationally, what's behind your name is Horsham, PA. That's where your headquarters is. So you carry our name with you wherever you go, whatever business you do with your clients, whether it's over in Europe, or I know you guys have done every major health system. You work with every major health system in this area: Temple, Jefferson, Penn, Holy Redeemer, every one of them, and even outside this area, and you carry our name with you and our brand and our township. So that's pretty cool and amazing of these companies, when they go out there and they carry our name with them.
They're putting us on the map, which is awesome. So again, we have a proclamation for you as well. MRA Group has been serving the local community through property management, development, and advisory services for healthcare, life science partners, and clients for the last 30 years. Founded in 1971 by President and CEO Lawrence Duarte, MRA Group has more than 4.5 million square feet of medical, life science, and office real estate under management and has structured over $1 billion in financing. MRA Group's corporate office has been located in Horsham for the last 11 years, providing employment, redevelopment, and revitalization to our local community. Under the leadership of Lawrence Duarte, MRA Group has earned the trust and loyalty of their clients and partners through proven, results-oriented, and value-driven solutions. Mr. Duarte and his team of MRA Group are important members of the Horsham Township community, and we are honored to congratulate them on 30 years of service in Horsham Township, and again, wish you many, many more. Thank you again.
We'll do the toners first.
So if the toners want to come up, we'll do some pictures, and then you guys come up after that. I'm right in here. Yep, come on in. Come on in. You guys all know. Get in nice and tight. There we go.
We just move over that way a little bit. Everybody good?
Yep.
Good?
Big smile.
All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thanks, right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Best of luck.
Best of luck. Thank you very much. Yep.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, nice to meet you. Yeah, unfortunately, couldn't sell Horsham. We're an expensive business.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Always reach out to us.
Thank you, appreciate it. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're gonna go check their employment records back in 1975.
We were getting all these points, but waivers.
Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations. It was a great place. When Hank left, it was, no, it wasn't Hank. It was Board of Record, yeah.
He said no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's something feeling.
Don't worry about it.
They'll take you from the waste up, don't worry.
Great, Nestor. Thanks very much.
Morning. Here we go. All right. Yeah. You're all good?
Yep. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Very good. Thank you.
Good.
There we go.
Again.
Come over and see it.
Yeah, definitely. We spent a lot of hours.
Well, we want to open up the
A lot of
bar.
dinners
We
in
want
that
to
place.
open up the bar to the basement again.
There you go. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations.
Put your mic up.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next item is opportunity for questions, comments from the public. Anybody? All right. Next is consider the parameter ordinance for refinancing of our library bond.
Just a quick recap, so May 12th, and Scott was in front of you from PFM, who's here this evening, to have a discussion to see if you would like to consider possibly moving forward with refinancing the library bonds, and your direction at that time was yes. On May 24th, you authorized the financing team, which got to work right away after the 24th and put together a draft parameters ordinance, which Scott is here to go over with you this evening.
All right, thank you. I have a brief handout to go through.
Thanks, Scott.
So I have one extra one in there. There you go. All right. Yeah, let's see. Thanks, Bill, for the summary. Again, this is basically kind of what I want to go through in this presentation. It's more like
His
just a
mic's
real.
not- I'm out, one sec. What do you need?
Is this mic on?
It is green.
Just move it a little closer to you.
No, it might not be.
Too close.
Okay. So I'll briefly go through this handout, which it looks very similar to the one I went over last month, but just to kind of get ourselves back into the transaction, and then briefly go through the ordinance that your bond counsel has prepared as well. So kind of starting with the handout on page 1, again, just to kind of set the stage of the opportunity that we're looking at, it's the refunding the 2016 bond issue. And when we talk about refunding, we're talking about basically just going from one interest rate to a lower interest rate, achieving economic savings by doing that, but not actually changing the structure or the amortization or the maturity of the transaction. We're keeping it the same duration. So in section 2 there on page 1, there's about 4.6 million outstanding on the 2016 bonds, and they mature in 2042. And these trace all the way back to the original library bonds from 2002. These 16 bonds refunded 2011 bonds, which refunded 2005 bonds, which refunded the 2002 original electoral debt for the library. So they go back a few years, and We're proud to have worked on all those different transactions, so it's been a good ride. The rate on these bonds that we're looking to refinance is at 2.45, so it's kind of hard to believe that we're talking about refunding such a low interest rate to achieve savings, but here we are, so we'll take it. And the call date is November 15th of this year, which when we kind of set the timeline per the IRS guidelines, it takes us pretty much right to this point to be considering this ordinance. And then the earliest we could probably price is, we have in the timeline like early July, so a couple weeks from now, because we cannot settle or close on the transaction any earlier than August 17th. So that's the earliest we can do that. And in the public finance market, in the bond market, kind of about 30 to 40 days is kind of the max between pricing the bonds and closing on the transaction. So we're basically right at that window to be entertaining this ordinance. And so the ordinance itself, Section 3, this is similar to the prior ordinances that you have all entertained over the years. Again, it's called a parameters ordinance because there's certain kind of thresholds in there. You're going to see a maximum principal amount that's greater than the amount of the bonds outstanding, but again, it just gives the finance team the flexibility to kind of structure the transaction, ultimately price it, and stay within all the state and federal requirements. And so you're going to see this maximum principal amount, which we'll go over. You'll see a maximum interest rate. We have a 5% interest rate in there. But we know that the transaction is not going to work. It's not going to produce any economic savings if we receive a 5% rate, just because we'd be refunding a 2.45 rate with a 5% rate, there'd be no savings. Again, it's just kind of these maximum numbers that we have to do for state purposes. 99.9% of our ordinances and resolutions that we do for our municipal clients around the state are all structured this way. Has the maximum final maturity, and the ordinance itself is drafted that it has to achieve economic savings. So there's no sort of threshold set in the ordinance, but the question was asked at the last meeting, what have we done in the past? And I believe the recommendation has been somewhere between 2.5% and 2.75% of the amount that's being refunded. And you'll see from my handout that we're quite a bit above that right now. Now the markets do change, but I think we should kind of follow that similar protocol that we've done in some of the prior transactions where we do not proceed unless the net savings exceeds, say, that 2.5%. And we went back and looked at prior documents back from 2011 and 2005, and that was the recommendations at that time as well. And we'll get into a little bit more of that here shortly. As far as the timeline on page 1, as Bill said, we had the presentation back on May 12th, the authorization to proceed on May 24th, this evening for the adoption or at least a consideration of the ordinance, price in early July and close on August 17th. Now, we don't, like if we see the market go away from us a little bit, rates creep up, maybe we're not within that savings threshold, we just kind of put it on the shelf and we wait until the transaction comes back, and we just kind of keep you updated. Most of the time, markets do come back at some point and we're able to execute the transaction, so that's just kind of something we'll just continue to monitor. The rest of this I can kind of go through pretty quick. If we kind of jump to page 3, just to kind of look at it again, the way the transaction is looking right at the moment on page 3 is the net savings right now, or up at the top, kind of in box number 1, or the net savings are about $238,000. And so when we talk about net savings, that's after all the issuance costs. So that would be the true bottom line savings that the township would be realizing. And you see down in column 4 that the bulk of it's going to occur in the current calendar year, in 2021, and then a little bit thereafter. If we end up getting better results, then we'll probably just see more of the savings in 2021, and again, just kind of little bits and pieces in all the out years as well. And as far as that threshold, up in box number 1 up top, you see right now that as a percent of principal, we're at 5.13%. So we're kind of right now well above kind of the recommendation of the savings target from the prior transactions. But again, markets move around, and we'll keep you posted. We have interest rate risk for about another 3 weeks or so until we're actually able to price the transaction. So we'll be in touch with your administration and letting know how things are going, if we're assuming we're kind of still at or above the threshold. So the rest of this, I think I will skip that unless anyone has any follow-up questions from the last meeting. But the ordinance itself, I'm not sure if you got an email copy of this that your bond counsel prepared.
Yes.
So everyone should have that we obviously reviewed, your solicitor reviewed, township administration reviewed. looks very similar to your prior parameters ordinances that you've entertained and moved forward in the past. Basically, it puts in legalese what I just said in this kind of handout. It sort of sets those maximum parameters, maximum interest rates, maximum amounts, sets forth kind of the history of the prior bond issues, kind of refunding the ones that I mentioned before. We can't move forward unless we achieve debt service savings. It appoints U.S. Bank as the paying agent, which has been the paying agent for the past couple transactions. The paying agent is the kind of the entity involved where the township makes the semi-annual debt service payments to, and then they disseminate that payment to the various bondholders that own the Horsham Township bonds. And again, the rest of this is just kind of more legalese that kind of sets forth the different provisions that we have to per the Local Government Unit Debt Act. I don't think there's really anything other of significance to point out, except, basically in the same form that the township has seen before. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You have any questions? Good. All right. So I guess we're going to consider this tonight, Bill?
Yes, sir.
I guess we need a motion.
I move to adopt the ordinance as proposed, authorizing and directing the incurring of electoral debt through the issuance of general obligation bonds to refinance the current library bond for the purpose of achieving overall debt service savings.
Been moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Gallagher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Hill Milborn, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Nesbitt, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Mr. McCouch, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Get back to us. Absolutely.
We'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Okay, next is an update on the COVID-19.
So just a little change, as we mentioned last month, we just have one slide to show you, which we'll do each month. Currently, as of today, Horsham Township's positivity rate for COVID-19 is 3.09%. The Montgomery County positivity rate is 2.02%, and the vaccination rate in the Commonwealth in the state for population that has been fully vaccinated is 56.3% and partial 72.5%. That as of today, out of the 50 states, Pennsylvania is number 9 in vaccinations, so the state's doing pretty well. As Governor Wolf has said, he will lift the mandated mask order when either one of two things happens, 70% are fully vaccinated, or June 28th.
Looks like the numbers are going down where they're supposed to and up where they're supposed to.
Right now, yes.
Good news. Good news. Okay, next is the update on the PFAS issue. There we go.
Okay, so this is your June 9th monthly update on the PFAS issue. As we normally do, we only put the changes since your last meeting in red. So in the long-term action plan, well number 20 is scheduled for a second change out on July 13th of next month. Wells 10, 17, and 21, all three of those wells and temporary treatment systems are out of service as they prepare for permanent treatment systems. And the Navy has removed pumps from wells 10 and 17 and begun their geophysical logging and packer testing as part of an off-site investigation. Well number 21 pump removal requires traffic control and is planned for late June. That's the well that is it's actually Gregory, Babylon, and Jarrett and Babylon. So their system runs between those two intersections, and the road has to be closed, a crane has to be brought in, and the road has to be closed for them to remove the pump. Well number 26, that has been in service since January 27 with filters, and is scheduled for its 5th change-out on June 22nd of this month. The parking restrictions on Greenwoods and Beaver Hill have been issued. This well averages 83 million gallons between changeouts, and the contract has been awarded for the box culvert and the access driveway via Sawyer's Way. As you know, at one of your recent meetings, you just gave them the easement, the authority, the easement on our property to make that happen. And then by having this driveway off Sawyer's Way, they won't have to inconvenience the neighbors anymore with no parking on the streets during changeouts. Well number 40, that's been in service since January 2017. That's had 3 changeouts to date. It's also averaging about 83 million gallons between changeouts and no midpoint breakthrough at this time. The only change on this slide is there's a more updated North Wales Water Authority and test result, and it's 2.2 parts per trillion combined, and that was an April test result. Private wells, for wells that have tested above 70 parts per trillion, there's been no change since your last meeting. Below 70 parts per trillion, as we know, there's 46 properties that the Navy has offered to connect free of charge that are basically between 40 and 70 parts per trillion in a certain area of the township off the base. So 34 have accepted, 2 have rejected, 4 of them also had been previously connected. So that is moving forward to get those people connected. The Park Creek Treatment Plant wastewater, the effluent, is 26.8 parts per trillion combined, averaging that. And the newest test result for the influent coming into the treatment plant is 66 parts per trillion combined. Myriad grant-funded projects. So this is through the Horsham Water and Sewer Authority. So house connections, phase 1. This is in addition to what the Navy's connecting between 40 and 70 parts per trillion. So these are all additional connections. So the authority is looking to connect up to 70 properties. 60 of the properties have accepted the offer, and 22 of the 60 have been connected to date already. Water main extensions, phase 1, the bids have been awarded. This is along McKean Road, another section along Welsh Road, and Watson Avenue at Columbia. And phase 2 of water main extensions, Davis Grove Road between Keith Valley and Coons Lane. And the design for phase 2 has been delayed because of the bridge construction that just got completed and opened. If you recall, the Davis Grove Road Bridge was closed for replacement. So all of these projects on this slide is through grant funding through MIRIA to our Horsham Water and Sewer Authority. The Navy Stormwater Management Update as of 6/1, June 1st, their pump and treat system at Hangar 680 has treated more than 12.35 million gallons of water. They are starting to move further on the reactive barrier. That's something that I told council about a few months ago. It was a new technique, another pilot program. The only place using it right now is a location in Canada. So if the Navy proceeds with it here in Horsham, we'd be the first in the United States with this barrier. It's the purpose of the barrier, it gets buried in the ground, and it's a charcoal filter sort of dam underground, and the idea is to try to capture some of the groundwater flowing through the soil before it reaches Park Creek. So the Navy has submitted a work plan to EPA and DEP for a plume stop test, and what they're looking at is looking at the feasibility of this barrier along Keith Valley Road. The Navy will be requesting permission to install 2 monitoring wells on Horsham Township property to assist with this test. So we will have an agreement, a proposed agreement or easement agreement from the Navy. I haven't received it just yet, but it'll be coming in the next week or 2. And they need to, if you're on Keith Valley Road, across the street from the Navy base is Township property, and that's where the 2 wells, they need to put the 2 wells to do this testing. So that'll be in front of you for your consideration and some.
Has that been successful in Canada? Do we know?
I don't know. But we are, as we have been, very happy with the Navy. They've been very progressive with trying new ideas, new techniques, and trying
Yep,
things.
Absolutely.
And other good news is Greg Preston has delayed his retirement another year. So Greg now will not be retiring until December of 2022. So we have Greg for another 18 months rather than 6 months. So that's really good news for us.
Very good.
The air guard side of things, so the permanent treatment plant at the detention basin startup is expected in early July. So one thing I also wanted to point out, while this whole construction was going on for this permanent system, the temporary system is always continuing to treat the surface water flows. So while this construction was going on for the permanent system, the temporary system was always working and treating the surface water flows at the detention basin. Also down at the bottom, so the National Guard Bureau permanently closed the well on the Strawbridge property just recently on June 2nd. So it was a well that was by the barn on our Strawbridge property. It was not used for human water consumption. It was used to feed or for the waters for the animals decades ago, but it was never closed. It was highly contaminated. We knew that back in 2014, 2016 when they tested it, but they just got around to permanently closing it, so that well is now permanently closed. The wastewater discharge permit between the Water and Sewer Authority and the Air Guard Base. The newest thing is that National Air Guard responded, and what they requested was an increase of monitor only for 2 years, and no limit, but just monitoring for 2 years. And they're seeking also a meeting with our authority to discuss options for adding discharge of their GAC treatment system backwash water to the sanitary sewer. Some updates. The next RAB meeting is September 15th, 2021 at 6 o'clock. They do not know right now if it's going to continue to be virtual. I have asked the Navy to go back in person. They can use our library. They can use our community center. But I believe, unless something happens between now and then, I believe it's time for these meetings to get back to be in-person meetings. There is no change in the National Health Study. They do plan on having a community assistant panel public virtual meeting in July, and then they having a full community meeting in August. MIRIA, the update on MIRIA is they received, in this next round of grants, they have received 6 grant applications totaling $13.8 million. The staff will be doing a full analysis of those applications over the summer. And also, just within the last 10 days, MIRIA made settlement on the 986 Easton Road property. That's the Grandma's Grotto property at Moreland and 611. So that property is now owned by MIRIA. It'll be a transportation and economic development project. MIRIA plans to demolish the building and, with future funding, install a traffic signal at that location at Moreland and 611. So it'll be an economic development and a transportation improvement for the future redevelopment of the Navy base. Pennsylvania DEP, it just came out this week. Their final PFAS statewide sampling study. Of the 412 total samples that they took around the Commonwealth, 2 of the results were above 70 parts per trillion. So the results do not indicate a widespread PFAS contamination in the Commonwealth, and that's good news. We're different from all those other areas, but it's helping DEP determine what they might consider as state limits for PFAS chemicals in the drinking water throughout the Commonwealth. So there's the timeline, and just to recap of drinking water efforts, no change in there. And that's the update.
Hey, Bill, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on. We have minutes to approve for May 12th and May 24th.
I move to approve the minutes as presented for May 12th and May 24th, 2021.
Move to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is the treasurer's report.
Balance in the general fund as of May 31st, 2021 is $6,431,574.38. For the most part, the activity in all funds reflects budget expectations for May, with revenues in the general fund at 70.98% of budget and expenditures at 36.61% of budget. For a more detailed presentation of our current financial position, I would refer you to your monthly booklet.
I know we missed one thing there, Bill, so we'll go back to it. Missed the final payment. That was my bad.
No, you didn't.
Next?
Nope, you didn't.
Oh, they're out of order. Okay, I'm out of order.
So, what I consider very great news is, we moved in this new building in October of 2019, and since then, our general contractor has been working on a punch list for the building. And I'm happy to report this evening that our architect, our engineer, our landscape architect, myself, and also Dennis Haggerty recommend the final payment application. The punch list is completed. Just to show you the project for the township building, it's not the township building, it's actually the complex. So we did the landscaping, we did the new facade on the community center, was about $186,000 over budget. But if I highlighted on page 19 of the spreadsheets that you have in your meeting packet, just to, the three change orders that cost additional money, which was spoken and talked about at your council meetings during the project. The first one was the fill underneath the old building. So no one had any idea of what was underneath the old building, and you couldn't drill through the old building to do test holes while people worked in the building. So until the building was demolished, we had no idea what was underneath the building. Unfortunately, it was not good news, as you know, and we had to take out a lot of fill from and put a lot of new soil and stone in its place at a cost of $110,000. And the change order number 2 and number 3 was also talked about and approved at a council meeting, but that was PICO. So PICO required a different location for our generator than they originally approved, if you recall that, or the transformer and stuff. So that caused a redesign and 2 change orders to make what PICO required of us, and that was a field change that PICO did on us. We couldn't control it. So that was another $22,000, another $53,000 that was added on to the cost of the building. At the end, we did get a credit for about $44,000, and so the total, again, the total project cost was about $6.9 million for a beautiful building, a beautiful campus complex that we have now that I hope will last the next 50 or 60 years for our residents. But it is time to for you to consider closing this out. The final percentage that was held back until they completed the punch list item was $366,892.67. And we are ready to recommend that you consider that amount to close out the project.
Hey, everything's working? All the clocks are working?
If it's not, we can quickly get it fixed now.
The locks are working, everything's good, all right. All right, if nobody else has any questions, then do we have a motion?
I move to authorize final payment to Parado Builders Limited in the amount of $366,892.67 for the Horsham Township Municipal Complex project.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now the list of checks. We have 2 motions.
I move to approve the list of checks in all funds in the amount of $762,352.62, and further move to authorize payment of the same. I further move to rectify the U.S. Bank credit card transaction for the month of May 2021 in the amount of $3,589.74.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is the PennDOT multimodal grant agreement.
This is just simply the grant agreement. It's taken us this long to get the grant agreement from PennDOT. As you know, we were awarded a little close to $1.4 million PennDOT multimodal grant to install approximately 90 street lamps in the Pennsylvania Business Campus. So this is the application for grant agreement for your consideration this evening. Once you approve the grant agreement this evening, it's another we ship it back to PennDOT Harrisburg, and it's another 3 or 4 months before we get the grant agreement back from them, fully signed by all of the PennDOT and Harrisburg people that have to sign it, and then we can go out to bid for the street lamps. So this project will not be starting this calendar year. It'll be early next year when the street lamps will go in due to timing. So
But the money's ours.
the money's ours. Yep.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move to authorize the PennDOT multimodal grant agreement as proposed for street lamps in the Pennsylvania Business Campus.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next is a resolution for the application of a traffic signal approval.
So if you remember 132 Welsh Road, which is a Goodman Properties development in Horsham, it was the Chick-fil-A, the Wawa, and the Chase Bank. As part of that land development project, Goodman Properties needed a highway occupancy permit from PennDOT, which owns Route 63. As part of that permit approval from PennDOT, PennDOT had required Goodman Properties to install a new traffic signal on Blair Mill Road at the driveways to the shopping centers. The one on Horsham side, Horsham Gate, and also Willow Point, where the Lowe's is and Sam's Club is. It's a very dangerous, there's been 2 deaths since those shopping centers have existed at those driveways. So PennDOT is requiring Goodman Properties to install a signal there. It will be a Horsham Township traffic signal. It will be to our specs, the black glossy decorative signals that we have going up around the office park. But for Goodman Properties to start to proceed with that signal, you need to approve this resolution.
All right, let's get it done. We have a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution as proposed, authorizing an application for traffic signal approval to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the installation of a new traffic signal on Blair Mill Road at the driveways of Horsham Gate and Willow Grove Point shopping centers.
Moved in second. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Gallagher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Hill Milborn, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Nesbitt, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Mr. McCouch, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next is to consider an ordinance granting an easement to PICO.
So both these next agenda items is for this situation. As you know, PennDOT has already started their County Line Road improvements from Lower State Road to Route 611. Right now, they're in tree clearing mode phase. They haven't gotten to utility relocation phase yet, but they did realize their right-of-way people made a mistake and out in front of our Strawbridge property. This is Happy Times here, which is now a indoor storage facility. This is the driveway that goes down to Graham Park. This is the North Wales Interconnect little building for our public water supply. And where this black circle is the pole beneath it. And this is a very bad picture, but it's a picture I was given by Pico. And I'm going to use my little arrow because I'm not doing too good with this tonight. But right here, you can see a guide wire. It's one of those guide wires that comes down off the pole and anchors into the ground. So the pole, this is the existing, but when this pole gets moved for the PennDOT project, the pole itself will still be in the PennDOT legal right-of-way in its new location, but the guide wire that comes off the pole will be on township property. So what PennDOT is requiring of PICO is to get an easement from the township to put their anchor in on our property. So it's a very minor thing, but PennDOT is requiring it, an easement from the township to PICO for this guide wire, and that's what it's about.
So will it take us
you
6
could-
months to get this
You can only
done,
do
too?
easements by ordinance, so you had to have a public hearing in July
No,
and consider it in July.
unbelievable.
I move to introduce the ordinance as proposed, granting an easement to Pico Energy Company along County Line Road on the Strawbridge property.
Second.
Moved in second, is a roll call vote?
Mr. Gallagher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Hill Milborn, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Nesbitt, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Mr. McCouch, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Next is time and place for that hearing. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt a resolution as proposed establishing a time and place for a public hearing on an ordinance granting an easement to Pico Energy Company along County Line Road on the Strawbridge property Wednesday, July 14th, 2021 at 8 p.m. in the Horsham Township building.
Second.
Moved in second, and again, a roll call vote?
Mr. Gallagher, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Hill Milborn, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Nesbitt, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Whiteside, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
And Mr. McCouch, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All righty, do we have any additional business, sir?
Have a very quick executive session for personnel in the caucus room.
Okay, anything from mayor?
I do not.
All right, then we'll call this, well, we'll adjourn this meeting. Everybody have a good night.